Connects news in high definition, powered by Bright House Networks, home of free HD. From Tampa Bay's Information Center, this is 10 Connects News at noon.
And good afternoon. I'm Ginger Gadsden. Keith has the afternoon off. Thank you for joining us. It is June 1st, the first day of hurricane season. The experts are predicting a busier than normal season. Meteorologist Sherry Ray Hughes is live in our weather center with a look at what could be ahead. Good afternoon, Sherry.
Hi there, Ginger. Yeah, today is the very first day of hurricane season, so you know what that means. We have our eyes peeled on the tropics, and already we're finding just a little bit of tropical I guess, influence out in portions of the Caribbean. We've been talking about it for the last couple of days. This is just the remnants from Agatha, which was the first tropical storm of the Eastern Pacific, and their season starts May 15th. Been watching that. It is really nothing much but a mass of clouds and also moisture, and some of that moisture is going to seep into the southern areas of the Gulf of Mexico, and that may increase our rain chances as we go through the next couple of days, but it is not going to be a tropical system that we will have to worry about. However, NOAA is predicting a very active season for us this year. 14 to 23 named storms, and on average we normally have about 10. They're calling for about 8 to 14 of those to be hurricanes and 3 to 7 major hurricanes. And you know, the last couple of seasons we've not seen a whole lot of activity here around the Florida area in earnest, but that could change this year. Of course, we want to remind you here at 10 Connects that we're keeping you prepared. So you can stop by any of your local Ace Hardware stores around the area. Check in with them. We have these 2010 hurricane preparedness guides on hand, and they're chock full of information, county by county evacuation routes, and a lot of other helpful tips. Plus, Ginger, you know we're going to have a hurricane special here tomorrow beginning at 8 p.m. on 10 Connects News.
Yeah, Sherry, we're going to talk about that right now. This Wednesday, tomorrow, as Sherry just mentioned, we're helping you survive the storm in 2010. It's a 10 Connects special presentation in high definition. It's at 8 p.m., as Sherry just mentioned. We're covering everything from evacuation routes, creating a family plan, to a look back at hurricane history. And you can also chat with all 4 of our meteorologists here on staff. Well, with the start of hurricane season, you may be wondering what a hurricane would do to the oil spill in the Gulf and vice versa. 10 Connects reporter Grace went to the experts for the answer.
We're facing a potential double disaster here. For months, people around the Gulf Coast have been comparing the oil spill to a slow-moving hurricane. Well, what happens if that slow metaphorical hurricane gets passed over by a fast, real hurricane out in the Gulf?
Our annual enemy, hurricane season, is back. BP says its permanent fix to stop the oil spill won't be working until August. That means a window of at least 2 months, maybe more, when a hurricane could completely halt things. Both efforts to stop the oil and the work of dozens of ships to siphon oil slicks off the surface would stop if a hurricane threatened the Gulf.
High winds may distribute oil over a wide area, but it is difficult to model exactly where the oil may be transported.
Meteorologists fear tremendous trouble if oil that's already spilled gets picked up by a hurricane. The oil will likely spread out and impact a wider area of the Gulf Coast. It could also get carried further inland. Salt water has been found 45 miles in from the coast after a storm. Meteorologists say significant amounts of oil would not be picked up and dropped as rain. It would be pushed ashore by wind and waves. But on a slightly good side, because the oil would probably be spread out, each area that is hit won't be hit quite as badly.
High winds and seas will mix and weather the oil, which can help accelerate the natural biodegradation process.
And underwater layers of oil, the kind detected by researchers from the University of South Florida, should not be affected if a storm swirls over them on the surface.
So could this oil spill actually help us? Could a hurricane passing over the oil spill lose some sort of strength? After all, hurricanes are fueled by warm seawater, and the idea is, could maybe a sheet of oil on top of that water prevent it from powering a hurricane? Well, scientists say not really in any significant way. It shouldn't have any sort of effect. For comparison's sake, the oil spill on the surface is about the size of Delaware. Hurricanes can be fueled by a pool of water the size of Texas. Reporting in Pasadena Beach, Grayson Calm, 10 Connects.
And all around Tampa Bay, you're starting to have to shell out more for shellfish. A number of restaurants around the area tell us oyster prices have gone up in the last few weeks because of the situation in the Gulf. In some cases, restaurants are paying 20 to 25% more. Now, some have passed the cost along to customers who say they understand and aren't too upset.
They're the same and they're beautiful. They're nice and plump and gorgeous.
So if you like them, you'll get them no matter what the price is.
While oyster prices soar, most other kinds of seafood are holding pretty steady. We're even told the cost of grouper and mahi-mahi has gone down in recent weeks. Back in the Gulf, BP says its latest underwater fix has a better chance of working than its last failed attempt. But many now believe the oil will not be stopped until August, when a relief well is finished. CBS reporter Terrell Brown brings us the latest from Venice, Louisiana.
BP is using underwater robots to saw through a broken pipe leading from the gushing well.
Later on this morning, you should see these robots putting giant shears to cutting parts of that pipe about 35 feet away from the wellhead.
Once the pipe is cut, crews will lower a containment dome over the well and then siphon oil to a surface ship. The problem is even more oil can flow from the well while BP tries to get the cap in place.
Estimates range between 0 and 20% more than what the well is producing.
BP could face possible criminal charges. Attorney General Eric Holder is in the Gulf region today looking into whether the oil giant sidestepped safety regulations or misled the U.S. government about the cleanup. President Obama also receives his first report today from the independent commission investigating the accident. Most of the oil has been hitting Louisiana, but forecasters say shifting winds could push that crude closer to Mississippi and Alabama. This oil is now about 20 miles off the Alabama coast.
It certainly looks like the material that we've seen, pictures of from, the various reports. The trajectory seemed to show that, midweek towards the end of this week, it's going to start, arriving.
And to make matters worse, hurricane season begins today. Experts say a powerful storm could push the oil deeper inland and spread it to Florida and up the East Coast. In Venice, Louisiana, Terrell Brown, 10 Connects.
And with growing frustration over the disaster in the Gulf, BP has stationed representatives across the state of Florida and right here in the Bay Area. We had a chance to meet one-on-one with BP spokesman Ray Dempsey, who is in St. Petersburg. He's keeping a close eye on the situation in Louisiana. He's working out of our area side by side with the U.S. Coast Guard and Florida's Department of Environmental Protection.
I understand the frustration, and I'll tell you that we share it. The Unified Command, BP, we all certainly feel the same frustration that the leak is not yet stopped. This is an extraordinary environment. We're working in 5,000 feet of water, and we haven't had to deal, the industry hasn't had to deal with this kind of an incident before.
And Dempsey says as a result of this spill and the investigation, the industry is going to put in place practices and procedures to make sure something like this doesn't ever happen again. Be sure and stay with 10 Connects for continuing coverage of the disaster in the Gulf. You can head to 10connects.com anytime and type in the keywords oil spill or click on the banner. It's at the top of our homepage. Other news now, detectives are still working to identify a woman who was found dead in Gibsonton. This morning, investigators used machetes, shovels, and metal detectors to try and find evidence in the area where her body was found near Cracker Avenue, which is west of US 41. Detectives aren't saying how she died. A neighbor found the body badly decomposed yesterday afternoon. Accused killer Casey Anthony will be back in an Orlando courtroom this afternoon as a judge reconsiders whether the death penalty is appropriate in her case. Anthony is charged with first-degree murder in the death of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. Her attorneys want the judge to toss out the possibility of the death penalty if Anthony is convicted. They also want the state to turn over forensic documents. Anthony claims she left Kaylee with a babysitter and both were gone when she returned to pick up her daughter. A New Port Richey man spent part of his holiday weekend in jail after Pasco County deputies say he called 911 to complain about his mother taking away his beer. Deputies say 30-year-old Charles Dennison called 911 several times. We're told he was drunk when a deputy went to his home. He wanted his mother arrested for taking his beer. Instead, deputies took him to jail. He's charged with making false 911 calls. Pakistani intelligence officials confirmed the death of one of al-Qaeda's top leaders, Mustafa al-Yazid, was killed in a U.S. missile strike late last month. He was considered the third-ranking official with the terrorist group and the top commander in Afghanistan. He was killed along with his wife, 3 daughters, and a grandchild. A U.S. official in Washington says his death is a major blow to al-Qaeda. Well, part-time work with full-time benefits, we've got a place to show you where people are lined up for jobs across the Bay Area. And a massive twister in Colorado. Take a look at this thing. The storm chasers get a little too close for comfort. And we'll show you a gator wrangling on a Bay Area sidewalk. And you won't believe what it takes to bring this one in. Sherry?
Ooh, Ginger, I'm glad I'm not over there where that gator is. But I'll tell you what, it is hot enough out here to be looking for some relief. I'm sure the gator was looking for some water. We've seen some water. It's way to the south of us. Will we get any of that rain in the Bay Area? I'll have a look at your forecast for the rest of the day and the week ahead in just moments.